Hey, my lovelies, Tabby here from tabbies.ca, and today I have a very special interview with Evie from Rosey's Little Melodies. Hi, Evie.
Bonjour.
How are you today?
Tired. I just got out of bed and I haven't had my coffee yet, but I'm feeling energized.
Well, I did see that you're caffeinating with some pop, so it's better than nothing. Of
Fair, fair.
course, I was up early, so I got my coffee. So, this interview here is actually really unique because, well, for first off, you're not a visual or physical artist, are you?
No, actually, I've been working on a synth-pop project, which for anyone who doesn't know, that is a genre of music.
And the really ironic thing, I don't know if anybody can see the resemblance here, is that you're actually my child.
Yep.
And
Which
even more than that, which what?
which dang, I mean, good job. You raised an amazing child.
Woohoo! I think I've raised two amazing children and I'm raising a third.
Mhm.
But you actually wrote the ditty for my introduction and my outro.
Oh yeah, and I'm gonna be completely honest with you here. I wrote that in like early October, late August-ish, somewhere around there. And if I could go back with the knowledge that I know now about music theory and how it all works, I would write something that I'm more proud of. You know what I mean?
So are you saying that I might have a new intro?
Possibly.
Well, we'll see. We're both very busy people. You released your last album in January,
hmm
and it did really well.
It did surprisingly well for being a first album, and especially in a city as small as St. John.
But you're on YouTube, Spotify, Bandcamp.
Mhm. On YouTube, Spotify, Bandcamp, Instagram, everything. Links will be in the description because I'll send them to you. I'll make sure they are.
Yes, they will
uh,
be in the description.
and actually launching a Patreon on June 1st. So,
Oh, exciting! And that'll definitely help you be able to afford some better supplies and really get even more nitty gritty into what you're doing.
it's actually funny. The whole idea of starting a Patreon had nothing to do with monetary gain. I really just wanted an outlet for things that I don't release to the public. I'm a very big supporter of Lost Media Foundations. I want to make sure that nothing Rosie's Low Melodies related ever became Lost Media.
What is lost media?
Lost media is media that we have no accessible way of viewing or watching. So if I make a song and it goes unreleased, but people know of its existence, it's lost media.
Okay, okay. Um, and this is actually something that's kind of near and dear to you because before Rosie's Little Melodies, you did struggle with keeping the things you created, didn't you?
Oh yeah. If we go through my old computer, which sadly is broken, we could find hundreds of Word documents of just lyrics and ideas and bad guitar samples that I tried to make something with when I thought that pop was my genre before I knew anything. And if I could go back in time and just hold on to them, even though they're horrible, I would.
But it's not horrible if it causes you to grow, right?
Exactly.
I know I've had a very unique stance because I've been able to watch you grow and kind of flourish as an artist. And I love your lyrics. Like, I love how intricate your lyrics are, and I love the way that the words feel together. I don't know how to explain that really. Like I used to write poetry when I was younger, so I love the way that words flow, and I feel like the lyrics you write really do flow.
Well, I was always inspired when writing music by poetry. I had a lot of main inspirations for my music, and the main three were poetic documentaries, poetry itself, and psychedelic rock. And I really want to encapsulate the things that make all three of those work into one main project, which is what I created here.
For Winter, your last album, or the one you're creating now?
For the entirety of Rosey's Little Melodies. Like,
Awesome. And Rosie's Little Melodies is definitely a synth pop. It's it's kind of fun the way you play with the sounds, though.
I mean, originally when I was making Rosey's Little Melodies, the very first song I made was a piano song. I originally wanted to become more of like a psychedelic pop artist, but one day I was at a band rehearsal and I'm a keyboardist for anyone who doesn't know. I was playing the keyboard, turned on a synth setting because I was bored. Played the regular melody and I was like, dude, this is sick, man. I spent the next like I got home, I spent like an hour straight just what does this button do? And this button do? And what if I turn this all the way up? And I'll admit, at first, I had no idea what I was doing. I was just pressing random buttons, but I slowly got to understand the technology I was working with, understand what these terms meant, what I could do with them. And that sort of really blended well into what the synths I use are.
So that leads me into one of my questions. Like, I guess we've already answered a few questions kind of with our talk, but how did you learn to play the keyboard? How did you become a musician, really?
I was bored on one Sunday afternoon. Uh, so learning the keyboard wise, I just started looking up scales and improvising and YouTube tutorials. The very first song I ever learned was the Tetris theme song. And I wasn't looking at sheet music going, oh, so I have to play the B flat minor 9 over top of the C major 7. No, I looked it up on YouTube and just played the notes. And music is really easy and simple if you let it be easy and simple, if you let it come naturally to you, and if you don't try and force something that can't happen. Everyone learns music in their own way, and my way of learning music was I know what notes are, I know what scales are, I combine the two, boom, music.
But the notes and scales you learned in school, right?
No, actually. Just like every super smart person, I did not pay attention to my main subject in school. And there's actually a reason for this, and this is something I'll vouch to anybody who wants to become a musician or who's currently working at being a musician. Figure out what kind of music you're going to do. If you're going to be playing orchestral pieces from musicals, you better be paying attention during that music class. You better be understanding, okay, what is this sheet music? What are these intervals? What does it do? If you're going to be playing keyboard gigs at your local bar, like jazz blues or maybe some like simple rock stuff, you don't need all of that. You just need to understand chords and melodies and, things like that.
And the funny thing is, and I don't know how many people know this about you, but you can actually play something by ear.
Yeah, I don't have perfect pitch. The term is, what is the term called? Related pitch. So basically, if I understand the first note of a song, I can start basing it off of that. It's actually one of the things for the reason I play keyboard, because I've been playing in multiple different rock bands, and most of the time the songs that we're covering don't have keyboard bits written out for them. So I have to start improvising and improvising and improvising. And I play 700 different melodies completely wrong, but eventually with enough, understanding the scale, understanding the chord progression, I can like grip onto it in a sense.
But you do actually, like, I know I've tested you before, being like, we'll play this song, and then I'll sing the song, and it'll take you a couple tries, but generally you're able to get it.
Oh yeah. And that's one of the beautiful things of just understanding music. Like if you're a classical musician, there's a lower chance of you being able to do that because you're so used to reading off sheets and, understanding the music theory. When you're doing something like what I'm doing with, the synth pop music and playing in rock bands, things like that, it's more so just about the feeling. And feeling is really easy to replicate. When you sing a song, I'm less so going, what is the main groove of this, and more so going, what is the feeling of this? Because that determines what the chords are, what the key is. Is it minor? Is it major? Am I using seventh? Am I using nines? Things like that.
So would you say that like emotion inspires you when you're creating?
Oh yeah, 100%. Honestly, when I go in to make a song, I don't start out with a melody idea. I don't start out with an idea for the drums. I start out with, this is a feeling I'm having, and how can I replicate it through sound?
That's funny because when I sit down to paint a picture or like usually if I'm highly emotional, I like to paint. But when I sit down to paint, it's more about what I feel. Like it's my feelings I want out as opposed to an idea for creating something.
That's what art truly is to me. And that's what the whole Rosie's Low Melody project was when I first started it up till now. It's an emotional escape for me, you know? I don't make music because, ooh, what if I combine this aspect and this aspect and this aspect? I make music because I feel in my heart that there's something gripping onto it that I need to let go of, you know?
That's a good way to explain it too. Something gripping your heart that you have to let go of. Because I feel like a lot of artists, and not just for lack of a better term, I'm going to refer to them as physical artists, like people, sculptors, like what I generally have on as handmade creators versus musicians. I mean, the art still comes from the same place.
All art is, art. Art is an emotional release for all of us, no matter what our art is. Like, I don't know anything about working with clay, but I see a clay sculpture and I can go, damn, I can feel the emotion behind this. I understand what they want to portray with it. And that's the beautiful thing about art.
You have also sculpted before when you were little. I had you sculpting when you were little.
Yeah,
I
but
you were
also I was just a little kid back then, man. I want to do everything.
no, and you did experiment with everything too. Like I really did try to make sure that you had some type of understanding of art because I believe that art's really fundamental in a person's whole growth.
Oh yeah. And especially with this current project, I feel like it's been so fundamental for the last like my first album was released in January, but my very first song was released in October of the year before. And it's been so nice to have that release. It's been such a growing pain for me, you know?
So, when did you first start creating? Like I'm really lucky I have an intimate knowledge of you, but when did you really start creating?
Ooh, that's a good question because I could list off like seven hard answers and they all be right. But I'm going to start with just when I came up with the name Rosey Slow Melodies, just when this project got started. And that was in about August or so, I'd say. I worked on a demo of a song which now is lost to time called Split in Two. And I showed it off to some people and I tried recording vocals for it. And it was not good, if I'm being honest with you. But there's a certain feeling that lingered with me after it. And as we moved into like October, September, December, I started getting more and more craved to make art, which led to Winter's eventual release in January.
So you also had a little bit of direction too with this album, didn't you? Your first album.
Yes. I was taking a entrepreneurship course called the Idea Center, where they're teaching us about business management and public speaking, and most importantly to me, mentorship. I
So it seems weird that you're taking a business course as an independent musician.
It would seem weird, but you also have to remember us as artists, we have to make money. Like we and it's so tough to make money in an industry like this. And just a little bit of business knowledge, a little bit of understanding about how that all works can really go a long way.
So tell us a little bit about that, like how you got your start at the Idea Center and really what that kind of gave you. Because I feel like before the Idea Center, you were more of like, your sit in your room artist who, release stuff. And it's not like you didn't release anything, but you weren't necessarily in the public eye, and you didn't have the same edge, we'll call it. So what happened there?
It's thank God for the Idea Center. It was a great place. But basically, because of the mentorship there, I got to talk to a lot of other musicians in the area, and I showed some of these musicians my song, and they gave me constructive criticism. And it was just a lot of people telling me this is what needs to be changed, this is what needs to be done, yada yada yada. And just listening to people's opinions, listening to what people thought, really helped me gain the understanding that I needed. The other thing about the Idea Center was when I was going to the Idea Center, I also had a very strict schedule with the Idea Center and with my not full time, but part time job and with my family stuff and all of that. So when I did make music, it was everything I had bottled up, like as tight as I could, popping off before I had time to even understand what was going on. Like,
And that is something important to note. Like you go to school, you work part time, and then you have multiple extracurricular activities that you do. Like you did touch on the fact that you're in a band, and you managed to make it all work. You seem to juggle it all fairly well. I mean, you struggle sometimes, but who doesn't?
the cold hard truth of the matter, and I'm very fortunate to have this, is that I do genuinely enjoy and love doing all the things that I'm doing. Like, I have a really good, nice job with a great community. I enjoy going to school because of the people at the school and the classes I'm taking. They come off as a relief to me. And music things like my own independent music project, things like that, they are my pride and joy, you know? And
And
I feel
just
like I could, oh,
and
sorry.
you, no, 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 continue.
I feel like I could power through all of the trash that goes on around me because I have this little bubble of things I truly care deeply for.
And that's a good life lesson for everyone, because when you love what you do, you'll work harder at it and you'll do better at it.
Oh, yeah.
Um, so the other thing that you didn't touch on is you're a bit of a community leader, aren't you?
I try my best to be. I've done public speeches with places like Chroma, and I've gone to mental health events with my school's mental health committee. Uh, I used to lead an improv group, and when it comes to bands and stuff, I did lead a band for a while there, but we ended up scrapping everything. So yeah.
I don't know if you wanted to talk about it at all, but you're actually a transgender youth, aren't
Hmm.
you?
Yep.
And you recently had a really good opportunity to help represent all of the trans youth.
Yeah. So I say it was about last week or so, but Chroma did a flag raising down at City Hall, and they need a youth speaker to come and do it. And with the Idea Center course, I took multiple public speaking classes there, and I like public speaking. As you can see here, I'm taking up the entire talk time. uh, so they gave me the offering. They're like, "Hey, do you think you could take some time out of your day to do this?" And I was like, what do you mean, do I think I can? Yes, I can. Give it to me. I will take it. So it was an honor, and I thank Chroma so much for the opportunity to do that. The people I met on that day were great people, and I love supporting my community like that.
And it was a beautiful speech too. I mean, not to be biased, but I cried. As soon as you stepped away from me, stepped away from the crowd, I started crying, and the speech just made me cry more. But you are really making waves as a young adult in your community. You're making great waves. I'm really proud of you breaking into the music scene. Like I know when you first started to like music, you struggled with it, and you've really grown as an artist. And it's a different kind of conversation today because I'm so proud of everything you're done. You're like, here, we'll scratch the surface.
Here's the thing when it came to music. When I first started making music, I didn't have the confidence I do now. Now I could make a song that's objectively worse than something that I would have made 3, 4 years ago. But I have, the self confidence to go, there's worth in this. There's a reason I made this, and still push force it out of me. The other thing is, I'm very thankful that I was able to grow without it being public, because now the music that I'm making can only go up, but I've already done the whole growing stuff. I've already understood what my style is, what the music I'm making is, so I can just keep going straight instead of going up and down and left or right. It's just a straightforward path.
Yeah. But this may fluctuate as you get older too, right? As your ideas and opinions change, and eventually your surroundings change.
Oh yeah. One of the biggest concerns that I have is I'm going to be moving out next year. I got a lot of things going on. I have to go find a job and things like that. And I'm worried that all of that combining into one is going to make my music either get really damn good or really damn bad.
Well, I do have to say, I am going to be very, very sad when that day comes. It's going to break my heart, just like it did when your brother left. Um, it's hard to raise amazing adults and watch them be amazing adults away from you.
I see this is the parenthood episode.
Yeah, I guess so, really. But you've decided that you're going to pursue this as a career.
uh, so actually, when I was taking the data center course, the whole punchline of that course basically was you can make money doing what you love. And when I first exited the data center course, I still had that fear inside me that so many musicians do, that once I leave high school, once I'm done with all of this, I won't be making money. And it occurred to me recently that no matter what, if I'm doing something that I love, all of the things that I love, I ain't making no damn money. I'm living in RV vans at McDonald's parking lots, playing gigs in my local bar, and I'm okay with that life. I have decided that, going to school for music and meeting all these amazing musicians and playing gigs at multiple places, producing for other people is more important to me than monetary gain could ever be.
And just so you know, there are thousands of people who make millions of dollars making music.
Oh yeah, but for every 1,000 person who makes $1 million, there's a million people who make $2.
That's true. And that's why it's really important that you understand that you may not be a millionaire doing your art, but you have to decide in your life what's more important to you. Is living a fulfilled life more important, or is attaining material goods more important?
The very harsh thing about that is a lot of people don't realize that you still do make money as a musician. You still make a
Yeah.
lot of it. They think that you can't eat, which you eat dog shit, but you still eat. So
This is not a literal equation, by the way. You do not actually eat dog shit. You might have to eat dog food, but you're not. No, and um, with your dad's history, I know a lot about local musicians and how you can get local notoriety and stuff and not get international or national acclaim and still be able to provide for yourself and your family.
oh yeah.
But hopefully we see you on the radio or hear you on the radio, see you on TV, and eventually you become um, bigger than you think you ever will.
Oh yeah, that's the hope.
So tell us a little bit about this album that's coming up.
So Immediately after Winter's release, because of the Idea Center, which I love the Idea Center course and I very much appreciate it, but I had a very strict, set deadline. I had to have it out before this date, and I could only have like a few songs, and those songs could only cover a few topics because I had to make sure that even if I was doing something that was a little bit edgier, I was still, being suitable for all ages. Now that I'm out of the Idea Center, which I love them, and please don't take this as a smear piece. If you have the opportunity, go to the Idea Center. But now that I'm out of there, I have a lot more freedom with my art and what I want to do with it. I released Exposition back in April, and that song was the biggest vent piece I ever released into the world. And that's kind of what the whole project is. The next album is basically just this giant piece of vent art that's been combined and thrown through weird filters and has been released out of my body into the screen.
So this is like your pre-adult angst.
I'm going through my I listen to Nirvana era.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with Nirvana. I happen to like Nirvana. So do millions of people. So where do you see your art taking you?
Ooh. I see my art hopefully taking me into a mentally better state. I'm in a good mental state, but the hopeful goal is that anything bad that comes up in my body can be released through art. And that's what it has been doing for me. I don't see my art as a business. I don't see my art as a company. I see my art as emotional release through the sounds of music, you know?
That's a good way to think about it at the beginning. It'll be a little harder to think about that when you're 10 years in and you're trying to make rent.
Yeah.
So the one thing I always ask my artists, and I did ask, like I would ask what inspires you, but you did kind of touch on that earlier. The other thing is, what would you say to an emerging artist?
If I was talking to another musician, they're like, I want to start making music. Do it. Do it. For if you release 100 songs and 99 of those songs are just horrible, like worst thing ever made, everything's off key, but you have that one song that's good, it's a good song. Even if you release 99 other bad songs, you have nothing to lose. And at the end of the day, when you do make music, you're never supposed to be making music going, I hope this gets all the numbers that I want. I hope it gets 5, 10, 50,000 views. You should release music and go, this is the music I want to release. Because if you spend your whole life looking at the numbers, you're going to get depressed. It's that simple.
Yeah. And the numbers aren't the be all end all.
Oh, yeah.
Like there's more to it than numbers. And I feel the same way with physical art as well. Like there's
Mhm.
more to it than the numbers. And I like music because like with physical art, you look at it and you have to interpret it, and then it becomes emotional inside of you. Music has a way to just shake out those emotions inside of you.
Oh, yeah. And I think it's the reason why music gravitated to me so much. I remember growing up, I found a lot of comfort in music because all of the struggles that I was going through could be described through songs, and all of the good times I want to experience could be described in songs. There's a term used in the mental health community called a safety item, where it's one thing that you always have with you to bring you some comfort. And for me, that thing is my headset, it is my music. That is my safety item. Also, a big reason why music pulls on my heartstrings so much is because you can really feel the care that goes into it. Like when I write a bass line, I can't just go, here's my scale. Oh wow, I wrote the bass line. Like each individual note has some meaning or some semblance of meaning to me, you know?
And that's actually really crazy to think of when you think of how many notes encompass a song.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's actually, here's a little fact about the inner workings of my music. There's not a lot of notes in it. I usually stick to one key, and I use about 4 or 5 chords in that key. Like,
What is a key and a chord? Because I don't know. Well, I do
so
kind of know, but not everybody will.
the key of a song is the scale that you're using. So if I were to use C major as an example, if you go C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, that is your key of C. And every single key has different notes depending on what the chords in that key are, which chords are just a combination of 3 notes. Well, it's a little bit more in depth with that. But for a triad, it would be, and we're doing major here, a major triad would be 3 whole steps. So it'd be like C, whole step E, whole step G. C, E, G, that's a chord. That's C major. If you're doing a minor, it would be half step, whole step. So you'd go C, D sharp, G, C minor. There you go. So that's what keys and chords are.
Well, I'm definitely glad that I have you to teach Robbie that stuff because I I would much rather be working on some seams and maybe some painting. Although you are actually creating another artist in our home, aren't you?
Yeah, actually. So I'm part of a program called Interaction. It's a music school here in the city that we live in. And it's a great music school. I love it. The people there are kind and caring, and they teach you so much about music. And I did a show at Interaction. My little brother, Robbie, cutest guy I've ever seen. I'm loving to death. He was in the audience during that show, and he was like, "Mom, I want to do this. I want to be musician, man." So we got him in music.
Yeah. The other day we were listening to a song and he's like, "Mom, I know this chord." I'm like, "Oh yeah, is that one of the chords Evie's teaching you?" He's like, "No, I learned it by myself."
I bet you $20 he does not know that chord.
Yeah, I know. Well, I don't know. He was pretty adamant about it. He was pretty adamant.
But that's the beautiful thing about music, to be honest with you. When you listen to a song, especially like in the genre of I'm with in which I am doing it, this psychedelic experimental synth pop, you can't immediately point out what that chord is, what that note is. It's all about the way your brain hears it.
So talking about your kind of music, you have you have the album which is not named yet. Well, is named but not publicly. When
Mhm.
can we look at this coming out?
I am hoping for a release sometime in August. I'm going to
Ooh.
be posting the official, set in stone date on my Instagram page. So if you're interested in what I've been doing, go follow that. But all I'm going to say for now is it's going to be released sometime in mid-August.
So is this so that everyone can fall for your album?
It
I
was
don't know what's
actually
worse, dad jokes or mom jokes.
it's actually kind of purposely set up to have a fall release date because the entire album, which I'm trying not to spoil anything here because I tend to go on rambles, don't want to ramble too much here, but it's very much focused on the setting of the album. With Winter, the whole storytelling in it was winter is this thing inside of my mind that's going on. With this current project, it's another, this place is a place inside my mind that's been running around. And that's kind of the whole goal of Rosie's Little Melodies. Excuse me.
Okay.
Every album is going to have a story around it. There's no general one Rosie's Little Melody story. That first album, that was Rosie. This album is going to be something completely different that's still the same musical style, you know?
And even though I'm not like the biggest fan of synth pop, I do really like oh geez, now I can't think of the name of that song.
Disgrace.
Yes, thank you. That is
Mhm.
my favorite one. And I like what you're doing. Like I said, I love your lyrics. I've always loved your lyrics. Even before you put them to music, they were beautiful. Um, but it's so nice to see them kind of see you come full circle and these awesome songs you're putting out. And some of your videos on YouTube have over 200 views.
Yeah, one of my songs for some reason got like 300 plus views, and other ones of my songs will get like 10, 20. It keeps shifting, you know. And that's the thing as an artist. We will get, you know, pieces of media that do better than other pieces of media. It fluctuates, and it's important that we stay focused on the media itself and not the way people are reading it.
Yeah, a lot of times artists talk about how you need to make stuff for you and not for others because it's not always going to hit others the way it hits you. But if you make it for yourself, then you can walk away proud.
Oh yeah, and that's the main goal of art for me. Like, there's two things I've always looked for while making art. I want the things I make to be everyone's own interpretation of it. I want to make something that asks more questions than answers, so that you are asking questions. And I want something that I can just walk away knowing that I made something that makes me happy, you know?
Yep. And you do make some awesome stuff. So kudos to you for that. Well, thank you so much for coming on to the show, Evie. I really appreciate you being here. Um, maybe you can do like a synth pop version of the intro song for today's video.
I actually still have the original MIDI everything for that song. So I could totally create some weird, wacky version of it to end this with. I'll probably
Oh
send
my
it to you
gosh!
tonight or something.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, because that would be so awesome. It would totally like end it perfectly. But thank you so much for being on, and I really appreciate you coming. I know it was short notice, but I really appreciate you being here. And I'll have the links below for everyone to be able to click through and see what you're doing. And even if you're not into the music, definitely check out the Instagram because there's some really cool photos. Like you're almost an amateur photo, like photographer, really. You're taking these
Oh,
cool photos, and then the editing is risque.
a whole point of the way that I edit my photos is the original concept I brought up earlier of I want to ask more questions than answers. I want the photos that I publish onto my Instagram, my album arts, things like that. I want you to not fully understand what's happening, so your brain has to make up a reason for everything. Your brain has to force a reason out of you, and hopefully that reason brings some emotion because that's the whole point.
I love it. I love it. And I will be looking forward to your new album in August. So if you get a chance to, make sure that you check out Evie's links and that you follow her before August so you can be in on the new release. And if you like the video, make sure that you like and subscribe so you don't miss an interview. And yeah, we'll see you next week. Thank you, Evie.
Thank you so much. Adiosa.
Bye, my lovelies. Bye, Evie.